Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Network, Fireside Tattoo Podcast. Here, take this down. Now to what I do with it. The official podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. And my name is Jake, and this is Ryan Ashley. And we're at, Richmond.
We're at the Richmond Tattoo Convention in
Richmond,
Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia.
It's Sunday, day 3.
Yeah. First day of podcasting, though. So you just finished tattooing just now?
No, I finished yesterday.
Oh, you just wrapped her.
She came in because I wanted her tattoo to settle a little bit because it was so bright and vibrant.
Oh.
And I always like taking photos the next day. It gives the skin a little bit of time to settle. And I like Saniderm. I use the Saniderm the next day as well because it gives that first night of that big main ooze to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then if you wait till the second day to Saniderm it, I feel like, I wipe the whole thing down in alcohol. She does the chicken dance for 30 seconds. Oh. And then it's totally sanitized, Saniderm it, stays on for like 5 days.
So you're not wrapping it the first day at all?
The first day I wrap her when she leaves, and I tell her to go home, scrub the shit out of it, let it air dry basically for the night, and then you clean off that big disgusting that first layer of plasma and ooze, and then it dries it way out.
Yeah. Huh. So I just started using Saniderm. I'd never used it before, but I've been having them just like, I put it on that first day and then take it off and then let it air dry for a while and then put another thing on. So you don't do it that way. You just skip the first day part of it.
I skip the first day just because I had kind of a bad experience. I tattooed a woman, and it's totally a skin type of thing. I'm sure it's a case-by-case situation.
Right.
I had a woman recently get tattooed, and she was in her 50s, and I did a 2-day chest piece. So the first day, I did a huge portion on her, Sanidermed it, have her come in the next day to take it off. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because, she was a little older and her skin was a little bit thinner. Mm-hmm. The Saniderm coming off so quickly, only 12 hours after I put it on, it pulled pieces of her skin off on her neck. And in a scary kind of way.
Like above and around the tattoo?
Not on the tattoo at all,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Not on the tattoo at all, because it's so, plasma-y, it comes right off. But no, it took a piece of her skin off on her neck. And it was just because it sticks so freaking good, and the skin just didn't want to let it go the next day. So it just freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, I got you. So one thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to kick off with, you did they did an educational, like so many shows are doing now, like an educational either before or after the show. And a handful of people told me that they loved your presentation. So you told me this is only your third or fourth presentation?
I think this is my 4th seminar that I've done, my 4th one. It was definitely the most successful, though.
Yeah.
Just because when you first start doing it, you don't really know what information. First of all, you don't know what information people want from you. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you don't know what information you can possibly contribute that would be the most beneficial or useful. And thirdly, you have to practice actually relaying that information. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? How do you get these techniques that you've figured out in your head for all of this time out verbally? How do you get it out on paper? How do you explain not only your thought process, but your design process and your tattoo process? And maybe all that information isn't even what people want to know, So it's taken me, a couple of seminars to actually figure out what I can contribute that will give people the most information in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah. Do you find, so it's mostly about your process is what you're teaching, your design process is what the seminar's been about?
Basically, it's my entire design and tattoo process broken down step by step, but giving those little pieces of information where I think they're most valid, if that makes sense. Like, this seminar that I just presented here, I tweaked it a little bit from the last one, and basically I go from what I get inspired by and how I get inspired, the design process, the things to remember, simple things, art school things, you know what I mean? Coming down to how I make my stencil, and basically, how I plan for the tattoo in the stencil, and I leave myself sort of like Easter eggs here and there, all the way to the tattoo process. But one thing that I've been hitting on recently that I think people are actually really excited to learn about is before I tattooed, I went to I worked in fashion for years. Okay. I worked in New York City, and I designed clothing. And the really cool thing about that is such a large part of my education was learning how to get things to fit the human body, right? So I took classes in human anatomy, pattern making, how to get one flat piece of paper to fit on, a shoulder that's not flat in any way.
Right.
So something I've been teaching in my seminars is basically pattern making, how to make these perfect patterns for these circular pieces of the body. So you have your paper, your design area, and your stencil's going to line up perfectly every time. And there's no guessing game, kind of.
Yeah, what a huge head start you had coming in. That's one of the things that new tattooers struggle with more than anything is designing to the body. And
Totally.
So, and that's something that doesn't necessarily have to apply to ornamental work. You're teaching how to map the body and
100%.
Yeah, so
it's
whatever kind of work you're doing.
I mean, it's incredible, but I always tell people, what I try to explain to them is think about a suit, a really well tailored suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many seams are in that thing? How many different, look at your shirt, how many different lines?
Right.
So when you're designing for a tattoo, you need to keep that same thing in mind. Things have this shape for a reason. There's a seam here for a reason. It's because the body changes there and it has a different curve. So I've basically been trying to explain to people or show people how to design for those curves on the body.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never thought about it in that way. Why would a seam be right there? That's a natural place.
Curve
It's something
of the body.
You should probably pay attention to.
I mean, if you
in
try to
design.
put a flat piece of paper on this part of your shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. When you push it down, if this was your design, what's going to happen to all this extra shit? Your design's going to be totally screwed.
Yeah.
So I've been showing people how to make a perfect pattern of that piece that your design is going to fit every single time. You're never going to have that problem again, and just show them some techniques in regards to that,
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of our, most of our viewers are up and coming tattooers, probably 5 years or less. I would say that watch us, and one of the things they struggle with is kind of finding their own. I hate to just say style, but their own kind of mark making in tattooing. A lot of times they're just stealing tricks and not really know. They love whatever Frank Sinatra's work, so they grab a little trick from him, and they grab a little trick, but without a real understanding of why that person made that decision in the first place. You know what I mean?
I struggle with the same thing myself all the time,
really?
To be honest with you. Yeah, because I do it all the time. One of my clients will say, I really want this type of tattoo that's dark and edgy. And in my mind, I can't help but to think of, Brandon Herrera and Robert Hernandez. And I go and I try to figure out how they do what they do. But what I'm looking at is their finished project, not their entire thought process.
Right.
And it's frustrating because you know where you want to be and you know who you want to be as an artist and what you want to produce. And so you try to replicate what others have done, not in a way to try to copy them, but to try to figure out their process.
Right.
The best advice I can give is the pieces that you're going to create that are going to be the most you are the pieces that you draw when you're sitting down, you put your headphones in, the music you want to listen to, and you don't give yourself any expectations, and you just sketch and see what comes out. See what comes out, because that's what you want to produce the most, and then refine it from there. And don't try to compare yourself to anybody. Don't try to compare yourself to any other artist. I beat myself up all the time because I can't do what Tyler does. I can't do what Ange does. I can't. But we're not all meant to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just don't be afraid to let your hand do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
You just have to trust it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I forget who it was. We were talking to someone recently that said just keep a throwaway sketchbook, that you never plan to show anyone.
Totally.
People get so caught up in someone might see this and they're worried about making bad marks or making bad drawings. Just have one that's garbage that you don't.
Man, if I could show you I wish I could show you my iPad right now. My iPad has all of these pages in Procreate that are just an idea will pop into my head, and I'll pull my iPad out and I'll sketch this weird little thing. Sometimes I'll go back to it later, sometimes I won't. But you get these thoughts and these ideas, and you have to get them out when they come into your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With no expectation.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great approach.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you were in fashion before this. Is that where a lot of the pattern? Did you always draw ornamental kind of pattern-based stuff, or were you more illustrative at any point?
No.
What was your drawing background?
So basically, I grew up, most of my life with a single mom, and she was a really good artist, really good. Yeah, she was awesome, and I always just wanted to get as good as drawing as she was, and so we drew together all of the time when I was a kid. And then
did she draw for a living, or was it a hobby?
No,
for her?
it was just her therapy. She called it therapy.
Really?
You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
would see it like that, not as a job, but as something that actually relaxed you and made you feel better. And,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and then I started sewing when I was 12. And, when I was a teenager, I made a lot of my own clothes and just decided to go into fashion because I thought that was the smartest career I could possibly go to, when I worked in fashion, I basically started designing textiles. So I would do lace work, bead work, appliques, embroidery, all tiny little meticulous detail things that would then go onto the garments. Because I found out that the way that my brain works is small scale. I paint small. All my paintings are this big. Everything I do is tiny little, very, very small scale for some reason. And it was frustrating for a while. And then I learned to accept it. And I learned that if your mind just does something automatically, that's you. That's your style. You know what I mean? Don't try to make it do something it doesn't want to do.
Sure.
But yeah, I totally, you know, when I began tattooing, I did everything. I did every style I had to, because when you're a baby tattooer, you have no choice.
Sure.
You don't get to have an ego and decide what you want to do. You have to pay your dues and take a swing at whatever comes in the door. And after a while, I started developing my style because I would tattoo people for free. I would tattoo what I wanted to tattoo, but I would not do it for money, or I would do it for the sole purpose of practice, and portfolio. And but I basically just transferred everything I designed in fashion for all those years into tattooing and just switched the medium, and the aesthetic and everything was already there.
Did you struggle with a lot of that kind of with the small scale and the really ornate, tight rendering, translating it to the tattooing from a technical standpoint?
Man, let me tell you, I have seen so many of my tattoos come back, and so many tattooers from a technical standpoint say, like, you know, it's going to heal like shit, it's going to look like shit in a few years, or it's not going to stay, or it's going to blah, 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 blah. They're not wrong. I've seen some of my tattoos come back from the very beginning, and I've been like, fuck, I did that, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, right. But I've learned from those mistakes, and I'm confident with my tattoos now to know the perfect balance between being technically sound enough to be long-lasting and really longevitive, you know, and still that realistic element that gives that, like, pop wow factor that I'm trying to achieve. But there is a balance, you know. Not everything is possible to do in a tattoo form. It's just not, you know. And so it was definitely pretty difficult, but I think the formula I've figured out is the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I would imagine that would be a real struggle. Everything from just like you were saying originally, stenciling those types of designs.
Oh, man.
And I despise doing anything that depends on being geometric and symmetrical. It drives me crazy. And to see people like you that do that stuff all the time, it's like we have Russ Abbott on the show a decent amount, and watching, you know, his 3D ornamental stuff go on the skin, just stenciling. I'm like, God, I would lose half a day on that. There's no way I could do it.
But you become a machine after a while. Even now, like, it's funny when I tattoo, I don't even realize it, but when other people watch me tattoo, I'll do hundreds of circles. I'll do hundreds of tiny circles, and I don't even wipe anymore. It's just my hand has this muscle memory of just doing it. I don't even realize it's happening. It's just you do it with your hand knows what to do. I think the thing that holds people back most is they don't believe they can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trust yourself. Your hand knows what to. If you could do it on paper, you could do it on skin.
Right. Yeah. That's a good way to say it. I think that it's about being deliberate, right? You have to be intentional with it, kind of every mark, and just know that it's the right mark. I think that's partially why tattooers are a little bit cocky. It's like it takes a little bit of ego to be like, yep, that's exactly where that should be.
Well, if you don't, think about it like driving, right? You know, when you're trying to merge into 8 lanes of traffic, you need to be confident and mean it. When you pull out, you need to do it with confidence, and if you struggle a little bit and off on, you're going to get into an accident, right? It's the same sort of hesitation and fear that holds you back. Just confidence, you know?
That's a great analogy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So do you feel like in any way that you're getting like kind of pigeonholed into a style? Would you like to evolve? Are there new things that you want to do, and do you have the freedom to do them? Or do people come to you and say, like, no, I want the stuff that you've been doing?
People are really supportive and open for me to do what I want to do. It's just recently all I want to do is jewelry. And I'm definitely being pigeonholed, but I'm pigeonholing myself because it's almost like I could attempt any style of tattoo. I could attempt any kind of tattoo. Am I the best person for that tattoo? No. And I'm honest with myself, and I'm honest with people. You know, people come and pay a lot of money to get tattooed by me, and I want to give them what I'm most confident in. And so if I feel like a tattoo would be better by another tattooer, I tell them where they should go and who they should go to. And right now, I'm going through this jewelry period. I went through the black and gray period, then I'm starting with the color jewels, and I'm starting to do those sketches we were talking about earlier, those really quick thumbnail sketches, and I have all of these ideas for the next phase. I just have to actually go home I hardly ever tattoo anymore.
Really?
I'm hardly home, and
I was going to ask you about that.
I miss it so much, and I just want to be an artist again. I want to be an artist again, and
Yeah.
not a
personality.
personality. Totally. Even though I love it and it's me, and I'm always true to myself and everything, if you lose the part of you that is the artist, you lose the art.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm going through the motions and I'm doing all of the things, but I'm losing the artist part.
Yeah.
You know, I'm losing the vision and this idea and the sketch and the physically putting it on paper. So I just feel like as every artist does, you evolve and you go through phases, and the next phase I'm going to enter, I think, is going to be really fun, and well, I mean, I hope so. We'll see how it goes.
So it's do you have that freedom to be able to just say, like, I'm going to focus on drawing and put the brakes on a lot of this stuff for a little while, or do commitments keep that from happening?
Man, in the last 2 years, the longest period of time I've been in one place is probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's rough, huh?
And I don't want to, I'm not, trust me, this is very not even, they're not, my problems recently haven't been real problems.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel so lucky to have all of the opportunities that I have, and when I hit a point where I'm too tired to remember how lucky I am, it's time to slow down for a minute. Like, if I forget how amazing this life is, it's time to actually take a step back so I could appreciate it. You know what I mean? And it's getting to that point where I want to be an artist. I want to pay my dues in that world and grind and grind and grind and go back to it so I could really realize, you know, how special this has all been.
Yeah, yeah. I would imagine it, and not that there's anything to prove to the tattoo community or anything, but when you catch a wave and you're known for you know, as a personality or whatever, we all want our peers to like our work. I mean, that's like the biggest deal. And I would imagine, the thing I think about going around and doing this show all the time, it's like I do more talking to tattooers than I do actual tattooing as well. Yeah. And it's like, but I want you, like, I want to be able to put the work in. I sit and I talk to these people because I want to get better. I want to and be able to come back and plug it in. And I completely relate to that issue that you just like, man, I'd love to just take a solid month and sit in a studio and try to put in work.
Yeah, I just have to say, like, being a personality in the industry is, don't get me wrong, it's been a blast. It has been fun as hell. Yeah. But the truth is that I miss being a tattooer. Yeah. I miss it. You know, and I get to work at Elysium now in Colorado. I just moved there a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Man, the artists in that shop are so good.
Yeah.
Every single day I go into work and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I just want to be there and absorb and be part of what's happening there every day. And we have this amazing thing as tattooers where, like, our coworkers are fucking awesome. Yeah. Like, we get to work with awesome people that that understand us. And, you know, in fashion, I worked in an office for so many years. I take for granted all the time, you know, how lucky I am to be surrounded by people that are so supportive and so much like me. It's like a family, this industry. Because when you work at so many other places, you never get to work with people that are exactly like you. Yeah. That can get you and support you, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We are so lucky. It's crazy.
What part of Colorado is Elysium in? Where?
Grand Junction.
Grand Junction.
Yeah.
What's that near?
I can't believe I moved to Colorado. It's fucking crazy.
From where? Where were you before?
New York City.
Oh,
for
wow.
like 10 years.
It's a big move, huh?
Crazy.
So is it close to Denver? Is it like?
It's like a 3.5-hour drive.
Okay. Is it a small town?
It's on the western slope.
I mean, compared to New York City, I guess, but I mean.
So, I went from New York City to Grand Junction. Grand Junction has about 160,000. Okay. But the town I grew up in my entire life has 2,500.
Oh wow.
So
100. Where was that?
Sweet Valley, Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
Like, it is like.
Huh.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's an old, but it's like an old coal mining area.
Really?
And it's gorgeous, but.
So you know every single person in that. I mean, whoever lives, they all know each other.
Okay, there's definitely something in the water in Northeast Pennsylvania, because the tiny ass little town I'm from. Now my town is 2,500.
That's
the
crazy.
closest city is Wilkes-Barre, which is 50,000. Still tiny.
Yeah.
I'm from there. Ron Russo's from there.
Okay.
Tony Mancia's from there.
Really?
Megan Massacre is from a few hours away. Yogi Barrett's from there.
Really?
All of these awesome tattooers are from this tiny little pocket in Northeast PA. There's definitely something in in the
That's
water out
crazy.
there. Yeah.
Oh, what are the chances? Well, I say that we've my wife and I have a houseboat in this small town in Arkansas. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, but like 3 hours away, there's this town called Heber Springs, and it has 8,500. And like every time we have to go to the Walmart, that's all there is. And so every time we go to the Walmart, it's like I feel like we're the only two people that don't know everyone in the place.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
crazy.
Grand Junction's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Like when you go out, you're basically going out to a bar with all the same people. Like I don't think they meet anyone new there all the time unless they're transplants.
What's the clientele like? Are they mostly traveling into you guys, or are they local at all?
Our clientele, well, me, Arlo, Jacob Sheffield, Dimitri Vision, all of our clients usually fly in.
Yeah.
They fly in, and we try to show them a really good time. If they come for a couple days to get tattooed, we take them hiking, we hang out with them. Totally.
That's
if you make the trip all the way to us, we're going to show them, what Colorado's all about. Show them a good time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, I've always wondered about that. When your clientele is mostly flying in, do you help with any of that at all? Are they on their own making arrangements to fly, stay, do everything?
So basically, I just moved there 2 months ago. Prior to me moving, all of my clientele, everything was handled by my assistant Maddy, who's not even my assistant. She's like my manager / mom.
Yeah.
But she is text one-on-one all day, every day. Whatever people need, she's there.
Yeah.
She's the best goddamn person I could ever ask for.
How long has she been working with you?
A little over a year. She was a television producer, and I stole her from the network.
Oh, really?
They weren't happy, I don't think.
Yeah.
But she's just so good. You're in our interview. We're talking about you.
Yeah, we're talking about you.
We call her Alabama Slamma.
So was she already pretty thinking about hiring an assistant? You kind of have to have processes and stuff for them to actually follow, right? Or how did that work?
I've had a bunch of different assistants, a bunch of different people doing my books, and the problem is that I was always hiring people that I got along with really well, that were my friends or that were like me. But if I'm hiring people that are exactly like me and I suck at doing that stuff, then I'm already screwing myself. Right. So the reason Maddy started coming and working with me is because she was my producer when I filmed for TV for so long, and so she is on the ball. Like, she knows what to do, when to do it, how to prepare. She's just a very type A, organized person that's not afraid of anything. So she's an excellent communicator, an excellent organizer. She's very office related. I don't know how else to explain it. She's diligent. And I think creative people just don't think that way and can't think that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of the failure I've had in choosing an assistant was just because people's brains didn't work the way I needed them to work. And I didn't know it at the time either, but Maddy's pretty much ruined it for me forever now because she set the bar so goddamn high.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know at Elysium, whenever people book to make appointments with artists, the manager of Elysium is Tesla, who is incredible.
Okay,
she helps with finding Airbnbs.
Oh,
she helps with where to stay, what to do. And they're very, very kind. They're very personable group. Everyone at that studio just welcomes all of our clients like family, and that's awesome. Yeah, isn't it funny? I know you got to wrap up. You got other stuff to do, but isn't it funny just thinking about just that statement, the transition that's happened in this industry? It's become so boutique and almost like high-end salon. And it's just light years away from where it was even like 10 years ago. The idea that a shop assistant would help you book an Airbnb or book your flight. Used to, when you walked into a tattoo shop, you were lucky if the person behind the counter even looked up at you and acknowledged that you were there, Well, I think the thing is about this industry is it's not that the entire industry is changing. I think the industry is evolving to support every type of shop and every type of artist and every type of clientele, because you can get whatever you want. If you want a street shop or a biker shop and you want that, you can totally still find that. There's a place in this industry for everyone.
Right.
But it's important because there's so many different types of collectors and so many different types of people getting tattooed. It makes sense that there should be that many variety of shops and of artists that are going to make you feel comfortable. If somebody's trusting you enough to change their physical appearance forever, you need to be as thankful to them as they are to you. And it's a mutual respect that needs to happen, because if we didn't have our clients, what would we wouldn't have anything, So we should treat them with as much, trust and respect that they give us, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So if people want, how far do you book into people who are wanting to get tattooed? What's the best way for them to reach out? What do they do? You have no idea.
Good luck.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. I wish I could tattoo all day, every day, and I'm just as frustrated because for as many people that want to get tattooed, I want to tattoo them. It's just life is so crazy and so busy. And I would say the best thing to do is you have to send an email. I do everything through email, so there's a paper trail of every conversation and everything.
Yeah.
Starting in January, I think I'm going to take a couple of months and just be home and do some big pieces and start something fresh on some new clients. Send an email, and I don't book that far in advance just because with filming schedule and everything's coming up constantly, and I find things out a week before sometimes. And so many of my clients fly from all over the world. If I book that far in advance and I have to cancel someone,
it's a big deal.
First of all, it breaks my heart to cancel on them because they waited so long. Secondly, it's a huge money loss. They bought a plane ticket. They bought all these things. So I'm only able to schedule maybe 3 months in advance, 3 months at a time. You know, that's all I can commit to. Because I've had a few times I've had to cancel on people, and I've had to, you know, of course I'll pay for their flight. I'll refund them, you know, for their hotel they booked, all whatever.
Right. You hate to have to do that.
But I hate doing it to people too. It breaks people's hearts, you know. So
yeah. And she handles all that too, huh? All the email.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I need someone like that.
You
I just
need
don't
Maddy.
I do. Yeah.
I need another Maddy. I need
her
to just like spontaneously reproduce and just like pop like a cell, and now there's 2 Maddys. And just give her.
Is it getting to a point where you feel like you need a larger team, or is she able to? Are you able to handle everything? Or
she has been.
Do you need an assistant?
Maddy needs an assistant.
She needs an assistant. Yeah. Sorry, I'm yelling into this mic. We'll just have to fix that. I'm sure it was peaking like crazy. People are used to our production quality. They don't care. So, man, thank you so much for taking the time.
Anytime.
I want to take any
Oh my
more.
gosh, absolutely.
So, thank you guys.
Hopefully
as
that
always.
was useful content.
It was great. Thank you for supporting what we do. We'll see you next time. And thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Right.